Ciao friends and welcome to Simple Italian Cooking. My name is Liz and I'm so glad you're joining me today for this really cool recipe. I call it an orzo mushroom risotto. Um, is it a risotto? No, not in technical terms because I'm using orzo pasta instead of rice. But it's really easy and it's just a tasty dish. So let's go ahead and get started because this isn't going to take very long. Um, by the way, if you enjoy Italian food and you like Italian food and you especially like it when it's easy to make, I recommend that you like and subscribe because that's what we're all about here. And I'd love to send you more recipes. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm not making a huge batch. I'm not serving a whole family. I'm just going to make enough for myself and my husband. And so my measurements that I'm using are going to be a little less than what I have on my website. So if you want the larger quantities, specific measurements, check out the link below and I'll guide you right to that recipe. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to cook our orzo, and we're going to cook the orzo in some chicken broth. So just like water, I'm going to fill this up for enough to boil this. And just to help you out, in case you are wondering for measurements, and by the way, this is a low sodium chicken broth. That's what I have on hand. And just trying to cut back a little bit. That's why it's so weak in color here. But I'm using an organic one. And just store-bought's fine. I'm particularly looking for a chicken broth for this recipe that doesn't have a ton of crazy herbs in it, okay? So I'm really going simple with this because we're going to be adding our own. Doesn't need a lot. All right, so my pan is actually probably a little big for what I need. I'm going to start with the two cups there. Maybe I'll do a little bit more. And if you're using a regular chicken broth that's not low sodium, what you can do, and you want to make it low sodium, just do a split of half chicken broth and half water, or maybe 3/4 chicken broth and then 1/4 water. And that will help considerably. I do that a lot, and it does help. All right, and so let's go ahead and measure the orzo. And really, normally I would just toss this in and not really measure it, but I know sometimes when I'm doing these recipes, people comment and say, wish you would have given actual measurements. So this is going to not take long to come to a boil. So the question is this a side dish or is this a main dish? And really, it could go either way. I'm using it for a main dish for dinner tonight, but if you want to really bulk it up, there's a lot of modifications you can do to it. You can add other vegetables into it. We're using mushrooms. All we need are, actually, let me go over the ingredients, but you can also just serve it with chicken, chop up some chicken or a can of chicken, and add that in at the end. That'll be really good. All right, so all you need is some chicken broth, some orzo pasta, mushrooms that are going to be sliced. You can also dice them, but you want to slice them thin because we're not cooking them for a long time. I'm going to throw it in at the end. We have some fresh parsley. If you don't have any fresh parsley, regular parsley, dried parsley is fine. And then we have some grated Romano cheese. If you don't have Romano, Parmesan will work. Y'all know I love my Romano cheese, just so much more flavor. A good brand. Okay, oh, and we have a clove of garlic. I'm just using 1 clove. I don't want to go too strong on the garlic. When making the larger batch, I use 3 cloves of garlic. So I'm just kind of cutting it back a little bit. So I'm going to do, and this is a lot of mushrooms. I probably won't even use all of it. Okay. That was kind of silly to do it this way, isn't it? Okay, so the liquid is at a boil now. So I'm going to go ahead and just add this in. And I'm going to add a little bit more. So I'm doing about 3/4 of a cup. I think that'll be good. And let's give it a stir. And our goal here is for that orzo to absorb all that chicken broth. So we don't really want to strain it at the end if we don't have to. Okay. So orzo only takes about 8 minutes to boil, to cook through. So we'll see how that goes. And meanwhile, let's get everything else ready. Okay, so I already have the sliced mushrooms. If if you want to save time, you can buy them at the store already sliced. That's good. Again, the only problem with that is that you can't control the thickness of how they slice it, and I would go with thin because, like I said earlier, you're not really going to. Let me make sure this doesn't go over. You don't want to have raw tasting mushrooms in this dish. So I've done it where you can dice it or you can do slices. So I'm just doing slices. I sliced my own. I like to cut the mushroom in half and then straight down the middle. And then I flip them down on the cutting board and slice it that way. So that way they're not too big and they're obviously not too small. So for the fresh parsley, I'm just grabbing a few leaves, and we're doing about I say about a tablespoon and a half. And again, this is going to probably serve my husband and I for a main dish. And you can adjust quantities. Now you may be noticing I'm using Italian parsley. If you don't have Italian parsley and all you have is the curly parsley, which is what's most commonly used in the grocery stores and stuff, then that's fine. You can use that as well. I like the Italian parsley. I like the Italian parsley cooking it. I like the curly parsley when I just want to eat it direct. So it's healthy for you too. All right, good. So I'm happy with that. Okay, and then for the garlic, we just want to get that ready. So again, you want it to be cut small. You don't just want big chunks of garlic in here. It's going to overpower the bite if you take a bite and it's got everything else and then a big old piece of garlic. We want to cut it down small so you can either, not necessarily mince it, but just chop it really fine, dice it. Or what you can do is, if you're into slices, just slice the garlic really, really thin. I'm going to go ahead and dice it. So it's important to stir your orzo periodically because it will stick to the bottom. And keep an eye on the broth because I find that the broth, for whatever reason, it foams up more and than if I were using regular water. So just keep an eye on it. But I can definitely see it doubling and tripling in size. And don't worry if you notice the liquid really decreasing because we don't want to drain it at the end like you would normally with pasta. We want it all to get absorbed in that orzo. So the only thing I would recommend is, unless it's like really out of liquid and the orzo's not done, then add a little bit more in. That's fine. And just make sure it doesn't stick to the bottom, like I said. Okay, so at this point, I think we are good to start adding in the other ingredients. The orzo is al dente. I want it cooked more because I want it to more resemble the texture of rice. So I'm going to go ahead and add in the garlic first. And add in the parsley. Add in some of the mushrooms, however much you want. Smelling good. We want those mushrooms to cook down a little bit because, like I said, you don't want raw mushrooms in here. If I had diced them, they would cook down more, but I just felt like slicing them today. And you'll also get some of the liquid from the mushroom will come out and will add to the liquid that's in there. I can really smell the mushrooms now. Oh yeah, very, very good. I think I'm gonna add a few more. Okay, so I just did a little taste test and the orzo is done. So it's at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and add in the Romano cheese. And this just clinches the recipe. And really, I'm just doing a few tablespoons. It doesn't need much. Okay, so I think this is done. And again, you can see how quick and easy this recipe is. So let's go ahead and give it a taste test. Doesn't this look delicious? How easy is that? All right. And one thing I would recommend is to serve it with some more cheese off to the side in case people want it to be even cheesier. Oh, this looks great. Mmm. Mm-hmm. I have not made this recipe in quite a while. I kind of forgot about it. And then when I decided to make it again, I'm so glad. This is absolutely delicious. You've got to try it. These are the type of easy Italian recipes that I love to make and share with you because Italian cooking, to make it really good, just as good as what you get at a restaurant, it's not hard. And it's really simple. So again, I want to thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below and let me know what you serve with it. If you've added anything to the dish to make it your own, I'd love to hear that. Cooking should be creative and fun, so don't be shy to experiment. Well, listen, thanks again for watching. Grazie e ciao. See you in the next one.